control, where we do still see, you know, a lot of goats to great effect. We do see the odd double sniper. We see all kinds of things. And speaking of goats, that is what Machi are hovering over.
We did also watch that game last night between Xavier and I believe it was Incipients. We did see Xavier really outscaling and outcompositioning Incipients when both teams were running pseudo goats. Here we're not seeing New Paradigm. Iron going to start things up with the Doomfist, so they are making that kind of adaptation.
Yeah, they're playing that as similar pseudo goats, just sans the Ana. Machi playing it a little bit more true to the book, as it were. And already it's Machi taking control of the higher grounds, even though they don't necessarily have more mobility. You need to see Paradigm moving to this high ground now, trying to dive onto the point, contest Machi there. Dive maybe not quite the right word, but at any rate getting aggressive. Iron in trouble, trying to dish out the damage, goes down to a nicely placed fire strike. Machi are the ones on the point, gaining control of it, and that puts the pressure on New Paradigm. Early coalescence from Velvet. Creative about to have an answer in his own right.
So early coalescence, that's going to also give them an early Earth Shatter now. So New Paradigm getting ahead in terms of these ultimates. Oh. Shatter did come down, didn't quite hit anybody, and the response grab from Juno is going to be the cleanup.
That was very nicely handled by Machi. When that coalescence came out from Velvet, they respected it, they gave it space, and they backed off. And that did give New Paradigm a bit of time on the point, but because Machi had already ticked up progress, it didn't hurt them, and then they were able to come in with a counterattack.
Well, Velvet's going to go onto the Ana now, so for New Paradigm, looking for that anti-heal, and for Iron as well, because they're playing the Doomfist on New Paradigm, they need this extra damage output. That's what they get. Staffordgen on the old Brigadier means, well, they have the better sustainability. So Machi, they're playing more defensively.
There's the grab to come out of Ho Jun Ho. Not quite in the follow-up, and the Meteor Strike from Ein a bit too late on the draw. Earth Shatter down. Unfortunately, not getting the conversion. Now it's New Paradigm on the attack. They've managed to crack the tank line open. Now just looking to run down the remaining members. Popping Creative up into the air and slam dunking them down as one other kill on the board, and that'll be the point. Going back the way of New Paradigm, the anti-goats paying off.
They are running also. They had that Graviton Surge come through that really helped them out here, and now they get a little bit of a spawn camp going if they can help it, but losing Iron's going to kind of push them backwards. New Paradigm would have liked to have played Frost a little bit more aggressively, but again, they need to look for that Shatter. It's going to be Shatter versus a grab, and Judo's looking for one.
Yeah, it's very unfortunately timed because of that grab on Judo, and already you see that that's a nano boost down on Frost, and he can't use it because he's caught in that grab, and in the time it's taken them to finally get back out, too much of the team has just been completely cut off at the head there. Great counterattack from Machi.
So far between these two teams, we look at the counterplay, it's been one team coming out with the Graviton Surge, the other one responding with a Graviton Surge. Whichever team has used a grab have so far been the team that has won a fight. So when we look at New Paradigm, they might be behind just a little bit here in terms of progress, but they once again have the grab, and they once again should have the answer to win this fight.
Neither team has quite run away with the macro game just yet, with the alt economy side of things. And there's the coalescence out from Creative, very proactive, trying to nip this one in the bud, but the grab to come out now as they throw in the anti-heal, plus an excellent self-destruct from Merit. It is quite expensive in a sense from New Paradigm, but they have preserved some key ultimates, the sound barrier primarily among them. If they can clean this up quickly, which indeed they can, get a few more ultimates in the pocket, this could be an opportunity to begin a genuinely hard defense.
The other thing for New Paradigm that isn't quite working out for them is, unfortunately, these takes have been a little bit too slow. They have a lot of catch-up to do if they want to make up 78%, which is what Machi have currently. Machi's still waiting for ultimate, still looking for Judo's grab, but there's Shatter coming down first.
Yeah, really punished the charge in from Leo because it meant Frost Shatter could catch the rest of the team in behind him. And this is the first genuine momentum shift of the game. New Paradigm winning the fight, not just to cap the point, but also the subsequent fight on the defense. This is now their opportunity to start pulling ahead.
This is when New Paradigm can realistically catch up to that 78% as well, but we are still waiting for these Machi ultimates, looking for this grab first of all. Finds it on the sculpture in the middle.
Yeah, nicely placed, but they do block the bio grenade, but doesn't matter. Shui's still in with the damage, the rockets to cut the healers off at the back there. And that should just be Machi getting straight back in, capping the point over. And you see the difference in the progress that they've had when they have been in control. The fact that New Paradigm won 2 fights in a row, but have only been able to equal Machi in progress, just goes to show how much mileage Machi have got with their fight wins.
And that's the thing, right? New Paradigm have just been slower on their attacks, which is why they're behind right now. Iron has been on this Brigida as well, so they're looking to be able to push back in, but losing Ho Jin Ho, who, by the way, has been close to the Graviton Surge. They need the Grav to push in.
Yeah, shatter out from Leo is just enough to disrupt the few remaining members of New Paradigm, and that means, actually, I think Froppy's going to go for a contest here. Will force the overtime, but I don't see much coming of this. By the time his team is there, Froppy is going to be dead, and that's if the team even gets there. Overtime ticking down. Machi getting the first one on the board on Lijiang Tower.
It's pretty back and forth, though. You do have to be able to credit New Paradigm for their ability to kind of swing the fight backwards, but towards the end of the game, when we get to that high percentage mark for the progress, it's Machi that are able to shut the door onto New Paradigm. They're able to push in very deep, get towards the spawn, collect a couple of extra kills, and really put New Paradigm in an awkward spot where they want to be able to contest the overtime, but their members are not quite where they want them to be. So Machi Esports, because they're able to get those final extra couple of kills, which New Paradigm, even when they were winning their fights, weren't able to get a full cleanup on, that's what's making the difference.
Wasn't quite as much of a shellacking as what Xavier delivered to Incipients yesterday, but you still just saw Machi.
Not even close.
No, not even close. But what you did see was Machi just getting more out of the same types of situations, and that's really the difference maker, at least right now in this matchup. If Machi can continue that on, it's going to spell bad news for New Paradigm.
We are seeing triple DPS out of New Paradigm here, so there's only one tank, and Frost is already on half, and Velvet's already down, so for Machi Esports, I mean, they were into the lead, but Burst can still get this resin.
Ho Jin Ho being able to trap Stephagen in that little alcove there was very, very good for him. Took Ho Jin Ho a bit of time though, and Stephagen coming back in on the Tracer means Machi are actually still in possession of the point, at least in terms of the ground they hold. It's still on New Paradigm to attack onto it to dislodge Machi, and already not going so well. Stephagen's got the flank on lockdown as Shui pummels the front line. They're going to hold on to that point just fine, get the cap over.
You see the lack of damage mitigation coming up from New Paradigm because they don't have that second tank. Frost has a lot of work to do as the solo tank here. He's has a lot of pressure on top of him. He's the only one that can realistically make space for New Paradigm. And once Machi can do some real damage, once they get aggressive, New Paradigm are kind of in a bad spot. They don't have the HP pool to survive.
I mean, this team comp is suffering from the same issue that all triple DPS does, that it's very feast or famine. You need to be getting a lot of kills. You need to be all in and all on the attack. Otherwise, you just don't have the health bars to stand up in a sustained fight. And as Ho Jin Ho gets picked off, it's already bad news bears for New Paradigm at the top of this one. Wouldn't be surprised if we actually just see them backing up, giving space, and waiting for the respawn.
You also are running Velvet on the Moira instead of the Zenyatta here, so you don't even have that kind of long-range utility. You don't even have the Discord Orbs, which could kind of push this triple DPS damage over the edge. The one thing you're really lacking right now is New Paradigm just aren't getting the kills, aren't getting the damage, despite having the extra DPS.
Self-destruct in from Judo just disrupts New Paradigm. By the time they're regrouped, Frost is already dead.
Didn't quite have the primal.
Yeah, trying to find his way in for a res, but it's just not able to go for it. It's too far away. Look at where Frost died, completely separate from the team. And New Paradigm, for all these ultimates they've got charged up, they're not actually getting opening frags to start a fight in their favor.
There's only one member that can realistically start that for them, and that's Frost. And Frost's dying very quickly. He had about 99% when he last died, didn't even have the primal rage. Has it now, so for New Paradigm, like you said, they have these 5 ultimates. Most of them have, or rather, a couple of them have been used by now. They need to be able to actually engage because Machi are getting so much progress.
I mean, you wonder what they're waiting for, right? They're just kind of letting Machi play their game. New Paradigm, even
Frost
with these duels, aren't being proactive. Yeah, Frost finally in. Ho Jin Ho wide on the pulse bomb. Shui and Ein both holding onto a barrage. There's Shui's, doesn't get too much done. They get Frost just on the back end of it. Ein, no such luck, largely blocked and also too far away, no line of sight. And it's already looking set to go 100-0 here on Gardens for Machi. So the last few members to go down. The only thing dying on the side of Machi was Judo's mech. So, Control Center wasn't a shellacking, but I think it is fair to say that Gardens was. Machi are going to pick up Lijiang Tower, take first blood in the series.
Didn't take too much for Machi to get that last victory as well. For New Paradigm, I mean, they had the composition that was a little bit off the beaten track, I should probably say here. And they were the ones that really needed to be able to pull it together and find that victory. And look, they couldn't because poor execution, unfortunately, with the triple DPS. It's not even that weird. When you look at the Korean scene, when you look at the meta specifically in that region, coming over to the Pacific as well, they are running a lot more triple DPS. They are running less supports in some cases, or they're running one tank in some cases. But for New Paradigm, They need to be able to get a lot more mileage off their one tank to give their DPS a space to work with. Frost does go in, but he's got so much pressure on him, just him. He dies almost straight away despite having a Primal Rage. Doesn't even really make a difference. Barrage comes down and kills him straight away. Pretty much the rest of the members, there's no tanks after. There's no one to make space for you. There's nobody to play off of.
And I think actually one of the things you really noted there as well is running the Moira over a Zenyatta. Not only do you lose the projection with the healing, you also lose the Discord Orb, which really helps your DPSs deal with your enemy's tanks, which presumably they're going to be running at least 2 of. And just between those two things, like normally with the Discord Orb and the damage boost, you can project that damage from your triple DPS even further to the point where you do get that absolute steamroll. And I think just lacking in that one crucial component made things harder than it really needed to be for New Paradigm, and it was a difficulty that they weren't able to overcome.
You also have to look at the fact that if you kind of get a feel for their gameplay, their decision-making was reasonably slow, which is a kind of not what you want to have as a triple DPS. You want to be fast, you want to be decisive. Like I said, feast or famine. Well, the feast part of that is you go in and you utilize the damage before the damage mitigation that you lack starts to rear its ugly head around. You don't need to damage mitigate reverse damage coming in if you can kill the enemies first. But for that to happen, you got to go in quickly, be decisive, and find the targets very, very quick. And that just didn't happen. Too slow to decide on what they needed to do, waited around far too much, gave Machi too much progress, too much time to react, and well, Machi just take it and run with it.
And I mean, that's also, you got to give the credit there, Machi playing very well, right? Like, yeah, New Paradigm, they were falling prey to a lot of issues just with the team comp and how they were playing it. There was a lack of general proactivity as well, which meant Machi were just kind of able to sit back and play their game. And I mean, that's the skill of that. When Machi just get to play their game, they make it look nice and easy. Moving on forward, though, it's not going to be Machi's game because it is going to be New Paradigm's map pick, and it will be Eichenwalde that will be next up.
And this one is New Paradigm's pick. Has also been interested to see what they've got lined up for this type of map. And
another triple DPS, maybe?
And I'm not too sure if that'll be really healthy for them. Actually, on this map,
I don't think it would be, but I think we might see.
On this map, you actually see the solo heal quite often on either attack or defense, especially on that A point where you only run a Mercy as your healer, and then you go for the Orisa Hog again on either attack or defense. It's been quite popular so far in this current meta, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's something both teams are going to go for. But if you want to look at New Paradigm and how they've been faring so far, at least on Lijiang Tower, they've been the ones that have tried to do something a little different. That includes Control Center. They wanted to run the Ana. They wanted to run the Doomfist. That includes then also on the Gardens where, again, they wanted to go triple DPS when Machi just wanted to play something a little bit more traditional.
A lot of good options for both of these teams, I suppose, is the main point. And that's one of the benefits of Eichenwalde. We were even seeing a little bit yesterday, a bit of a GOAT-style thing coming out. Again, it was that sort of GOATs-esque, the GOATs in the shell, as we were calling it, that Xavier were running a fair amount of. And we were seeing just varying levels of success from it, but certainly ways it could be made to work. And it means that it's an option. It is an option for both of these teams. I don't know that it's one they're necessarily going to explore. Neither of these teams, it's not that they can't run it, but they don't really lean towards GOATs like some other teams in this competition do, but they both have it as an option.
So what I want to say is Tedo has come in for Hojin Ho here, so they've actually dropped the DPS for an extra tank. That says to me that New Paradigm want to run more tanks here, and Ein is going to be there. So far, well, actually, it's going to be 2 DPSs, Merit and Ein, but Merit also plays flex tank, and I wouldn't be surprised if New Paradigm are going to go towards a triple tank with 1 DPS potentially.
For now, though, they're going to be taking a double sniper out the gate, and they're doing so with a solo heal, and interestingly, no Zarya as well. You lose that Grav Dragon combo, so they're really going to be relying on good catches, ideally on Shui and Burst here. If they can take the 2 of them out, New Paradigm kind of just crack it wide open, but they have their work cut out for them.
The first hook coming in as well.
Great one.
Easy cleanup, no real response, unfortunately. Judo couldn't quite get the Matrix in there.
And there's
some of that front line's just falling apart.
Like I said, if they were able to eliminate Burst, and they do so without too much difficulty as well, just 1 good headshot, that's all it can take when you've got these sniper compositions. That means New Paradigm are going to have really no trouble just rolling over the remainder of this point. Machi, I think it'd be smart to not try to contest this here.
That Orisa Hog defense for Machi as well. It gets very difficult to hold on when either your Orisa or your Roadhog goes down. One of them went down first and suddenly your other tanks are falling by the wayside. Doesn't take long for New Paradigm to be able to break through. This is a pretty decent cap time already. 5:16 available to push through B and then on to C as well. Machi have had a pretty unfortunate first defense.
And they've got some good tools here, New Paradigm, to try and break this next fight. Yeah, another hook on Judo, going to go into full retreat, not going to get out in time. Catch on Froppy, though, means New Paradigm just need to be a little careful. Oh, and Stephagen finds Eind as well. That does mean that despite the catch on Judo, New Paradigm can't really push this cart too far forward. Judo might even have time to reset the mech here. He didn't actually die there.
I suppose the good news for Stephagen is using the chaos and the commotion in that choke point is able to thread the needle into a couple of very important kills, so he hasn't really been affected so far. That's a nice flank from Shui, though.
Yeah, great angle. Found Froppy. Getting Merit was just a bonus at that point. Tato did come in with the response, but just propping Froppy is all they really needed. Machi do lose a couple of members on the front side of that, and it does mean New Paradigm can start moving here, but this is going to be time-consuming for New Paradigm if they want to keep momentum on their side.
And Machi also have to get their players back onto the cart. They're a little bit behind in terms of offense right now, and Tenno's going to just reset his own mech, but so far New Paradigm's just getting free cart push and is still moving forward.
Yeah, that was very nicely placed by Teto because they realized that Machi were going to try and move through the interior of the building, pop out that side door to contest the cart. New Paradigm as well have been able to play a very alt-lean game so far. The catch on Stephagen just kind of plays right into that. That means they come into this last fight with a Valkyrie and a whole hog.
So I'm not too sure what Machi are trying to do here. They want to go for the back line, it seems, but they aren't really assaulting the cart. So we are seeing New Paradigm just get so much free progress, and Machi now finally having to go onto this cart, but they are already losing too many members.
Yeah, I mean, Leo was already dead, really, when that fight started out. It only just respawned. Judo lost the mech very, very quickly. I mean, that a one fight does not make, right? New Paradigm just had everything at their disposal, and like you said, a bit odd what Machi was trying to do. They didn't seem to be very clear on their own game plan.
Now the game plan is running out of time to have its execution. 4 minutes 44 remaining for New Paradigm pushing into C, and it's been mostly a one attempt for New Paradigm as well. Wasn't really too much defense on A or B. And Velvet Staff definitely been hitting a ton of hooks so far.
Self-destruct does go wide from Judo. Doesn't really slow down New Paradigm too much, but Stephagen and Shui will have no trouble making the slowdown stick. They do get one catch back, and they threw out...
That was from a hook.
Yeah, from a hook, and also the raise coming in onto Frost. So New Paradigm have decided they want to stay in this one, I think. Had committed the Dragon Strike too, but they can't really get the cart back moving, at least not just yet. And that gives Machi a moment of reprieve.
So Shui onto the Junkrat here is going to be quite important for Machi. You'd expect them to be able to out-damage New Paradigm. For New Paradigm, instead, they're going to be looking for picks like that on the Widowmaker with the hook, with the whole hog.
And that means Velvet getting aggressive here. They can make that space for themselves to start moving the cart again. Shui did get raised though, so they have to get through that spam damage once again, but they're getting progress. And if they can get a few more kills in this position, it becomes a winning one. Ooh, missing that headshot of the Shui is going to hurt them because, yeah, it means the tire can now come out. And this could be what begins a defense for Machi, especially as they find Eind. No Dragon Strike will be available for the time being, and New Paradigm have to step back for a moment and reassess.
That ends up being a very important kill as well. Eind was pretty far pushed up. It was very close to a Dragon Strike, now having to reset fully onto a Junkrat. And the Dragon Strike would have potentially been very useful for them, but they're now really respecting this kind of damage output that's going to come out from the Junkrat, still putting Merit onto the Hanzo instead. New Paradigm have been slowed up, have to wait for some new ults. Judo though, he's not waiting anymore, he's got grab.
Yeah, and they've got the Shatter as well, they've got plenty of tools. Creative goes down though, so Machi, they had to just give a touch of space here while that res comes through. Now that it's there, they can move forward again. They find Eind once again, and that's the grab to come out, plus the Dragon. That is an easy pickup on the win there for Machi. Looking to conserve the rest of their ultimates as well.
Except Frost.
Clean up, yeah. So, on the whole, that means Machi get to secure the defense a little bit longer, and now New Paradigm starting to hit a bit of a wall.
New Paradigm wanting to swap there, so Frost dropping down the Supercharger. It's going to be the Reinhardt now, and just finding it too difficult to push in with the Orisa Hog. I mean, their game plan has to be to try and find picks. At the start, you were seeing some Widowmaker headshots come out, but towards the end, look, you're changing Eind onto Junkrat, changing Merit onto the Hanzo, and the rest of the team has to change in suit as well. Now they're starting to run out of time. 2:13 remaining.
You're looking for an angle with the Surf Shatter. Shui's coming up on the tire. That'll be the real difference maker on this defense for Machi. Still just finding an angle in. New Paradigm are the ones who kind of have the onus on them to find their way in. Eind only just swapped up to the Junkrat, already getting a lot up in the charge with that. 2 tires to come out. It's a question of who gets more. You see Eind looking to wrap around the backside while Shui Gun has to charge it down the middle, and it's Shui who goes unsuccessful while Eind finds his counterpart. It's an opening for New Paradigm. Even as the res comes in, they're able to throw a Dragon Strike forward. Shatter connects from Leo. New Paradigm getting cleaned up despite that opening that they had there. Not able to make it count, not able to make it stick, and now hemorrhaging time.
Well, that opening was equalized by the fact that Shui got res back in. His own tire kind of getting dissipated doesn't really do too much difference at the end of the day. They just need to get them back into action, use one of the other ultimates like an Earth Shatter, and suddenly Shui is back into business. The damage is back into business. If Shui had landed some shots, if he had landed a kill with that Rip Tire, maybe New Paradigm would have had a harder time pushing in, but Machi, they recover nonetheless. And with 1 minute 03 remaining, Machi are looking to full hold here, and New Paradigm are running out of options because they've been using ults pretty much every single fight and not getting results.
That is a nicely placed grab with the Dragon combo as well. New Paradigm just have to let this fight be a loss. They have just enough time to come in for one more, but it's going to be a down to the wire kind of fight. And this is where, much like on Control Center, Machi have just been out executing New Paradigm for the last 4 or so minutes. New Paradigm hitting a wall.
Oh man, that's the kind of wall you get hit in as well. Unlikely to see the resurrection there, but the other part for New Paradigm is they're the ones that are having to swap compositions. Machi have been comfortable on the double shield with the Dragon Strike, with the Rip Tires for some time now for this entire C defense at New Paradigm that are constantly having to catch up.
Shui's got a Rip Tire as well. If he can find someone like Froppy or Velvet, he can stop this last push before it even starts. And by the way, the payload has moved so far back that it actually has to get quite a ways forward before they're even making further progress. There's going to be the commit. Finds Frost as he was vulnerable, throwing out the Earth Shatter, which also didn't really connect, didn't really get much done. Does get rezzed in as the Dragon Strike comes out, but it doesn't find its mark. Now New Paradigm, having popped all those ultimates, holding on still to a Rip Tire now and Transcendence. There's the Transcendence and the grab to come out, Tire into it. It's looking good, even though they lost Eind's Tire. They're still getting the kills. They lose Merit though. Velvet down in the melee as well. They're getting the payload moving, but Machi will get a full rack of respawns, and yeah, the Counter Dragon to rake across the back line of the team. New Paradigm gonna have a hard time topping up these members. This is where Machi can make the hold stick, can make it final.
But we can still see some Machi ultimates out of here. Earth Shatter available. Leo's been connecting a few of these tonight, and Judo nearly onto that grab.
Oh, it's a big one to connect, plus the anti-heal. Overtime vanishes. Between that and the grab, there was no one with presence on the cart, and that's to say nothing of all the kills that were coming through. Nicely done by Machi towards the end. Credit where it is due, though, to New Paradigm. They actually got the cart all that way and genuinely nearly got it over the line. It's a shame that it took them so long to get the cart back underway after that C defense really got going, but they still did get it underway. They were 1.7 meters from capping out.
And it's a time factor that makes a difference for New Paradigm, unfortunate, because you can imagine if they had an extra minute, extra second minute there with the cart where it ended up ending for this attack here, you could see them actually finishing them. You could see them getting another round of ultimates, getting another good offense, and that would have been it. We could be going to a time bank for New Paradigm instead, because they had to take so long to find a composition that would work on that C offense. By the time the gear started to really roll for them, they were out of the clock.
And it's a shame, because they actually capped A in one push. They had a pretty clean run through B, didn't get stopped up too much for too long. And it was all on that C. That was where the time got lost. That was where Machi made the defense happen. And that could just be the difference maker, because it means Machi, no matter how long they take, all they need to do is get it over the line. They could cap everything in overtime and still win Eichenwalde here. So they've set themselves up for the victory. Now it's all about reaping what they have sowed.
And Machi have just been playing conventional. They haven't had to change too much up. The expected attacks, the expected defenses, I should probably say, across all 3 points, they run the type of heroes that you want to be able to see, because those are the type of compositions that work. It's been New Paradigm that are trying to run something different. New Paradigm that are trying to break the wall here and run something that you wouldn't expect. We've seen that on Legion Tower. We're starting to see a little bit of that going into Eichenwalde as well. You don't always see the Orisa Hog working on that C attack, and this time you certainly didn't.
Speaking of things you don't normally see, Sombra making a bit of a reappearance.
Could be a scout. I do think it probably at this stage is a scout.
I would assume it is. A part of me is almost starting to wonder, because we have seen it a couple of times, if maybe there is an element of teams just dancing around with it again before they have to be potentially bringing it out in playoffs. But that's aside. It's a little bit conjectural. We'll maybe touch more on that later. Merit looking for a flank on this backside as Machi go in and commit. Trying to clean up Judo. They are able to pick him off, and Merit finds Stepfage in. So that, oh, what a nice catch. Do kill Merit for their trouble, but Machi do just have to back up for this one.
Yeah, Merit dies late enough that you see Judo and Stepfage have already respawned, while Merit is only just respawning now, which kind of gives Machi this opening window. Now, Merit's not going to take too long. He's Tracer, triple blink back in, but Machi actually have to go in. They have to be able to use this one play.
They also have to find the shots onto Eind, and ideally Froppy as well. But here's the attack, diving straight in. Very, very quick maneuvers. Damage coming out, though, is going to get rid of Creative, and that means New Paradigm, with Merit having just rejoined, can actually complete a hold here once again, force Machi back. Ein's taking damage, but not going down. Pulse Bomb in as well means they'll be able to finish off Shui, get Leo low, and Machi, they can't really stick in this fight any longer. Now they have to go into full retreat and just hope they don't lose too many members on the back end of this fight.
And to be honest with you, Machi's composition right now is a little bit too slow against New Paradigm, who can just successfully out-mobility them, as it were. I mean, they can get such good angles. You see Merit able to pass that backline consistently. You see Eind so far into the sky. Stafford is having to swap onto his own Tracer now. Wasn't getting anything done on the Widowmaker. And Eind hasn't died pretty much at all. New Paradigm kind of snowballing these ultimates defensively as well. Machi's been taking their time trying to get their push going.
It's just a scratch.
Creative nano boost in onto Judo.
Trying to get a fast charge.
Quite of a grab, trying to get Eind out of the sky as he channeled the barrage, which is going to be able to take out Shui's mech. There's the grab to come out onto the cart, but honestly, there's too much health on Frost and too many tanky members caught in it for any of that damage to stick. Sound Barrier out is just trying to stem the bleeding on the side of Machi. Decent Earth Shatter. They're having a hard time following up, only just popping Frost to Merit now. This is taking a lot of time for Machi, but it does look like they've finally cracked the dam here. Now it's just about really opening the floodgates, as it were. We're going to get that second, third, complete the cap out. Took them quite a long time, though.
Earth Shatter really worked though for Leo. They managed to back themselves up into a choke. New Paradigm went in there as well, tried to chase and got caught in the trap. Shadow landed on just the correct members. The 2 kills they ended up getting were so huge, and the tank stayed alive for the most part. Leo and Judo now going to be able to push on through. You do also start to wonder if they're going to change up composition, because double shield tanks going into B is unfortunately not really what you're looking for in New Paradigm. Going to stick to this dive composition. They're going to have way better success on the vertical sections.
Thing is, Machi are kind of in a sunk cost fallacy situation. They want to stick with the shield tanks. They're still quite a way away from a grab, though. I think it's really the nano boost and self-destruct that they could make work here. They're running a goat-style composition here, just with a bit of a deviation on the support line of that. It's going to be difficult to crack this open. There's going to be the nano boost to come out from Creative. They are actually getting the payload moving a little bit of the ways forward. New Paradigm, the onus is on them to dislodge Machi here, and Machi are winning the fight as New Paradigm dive onto them. Yeah, Earth Shatter goes out from Leo, plus a grab to come out, and that's going to be all they need to separate the members of New Paradigm, trying to dive onto the cart, and Machi going to keep things rolling.
Well, I think for New Paradigm there is they didn't lose too many members to the grab and the Shatter. Just Teta realistically, which is going to allow New Paradigm to quickly reinforce their lineup, get this other defense underway. They have kind of slowed down Machi a lot more than Machi did to them on their own attack, and the card is only just making way around the last bend of B now. Expect New Paradigm to dive.
Ein's been spotted. Oh, wow. Merit's finding Creative there. And Ein slipped away for a long, long time. Really wasted time on Machi's back line. That means New Paradigm are now taking a fight to Machi far further forward than what Machi really want. They want to be fighting by those doors. They want to be completing the holes here. New Paradigm are doing a great job burning down the clock. Froppy, though, going down before he can pop the Valkyrie. And Velvet separated out. Frost low. No healing to come out for these tanks. It's only a matter of time now for Machi. But time, speaking thereof, they have lost a lot of it.
Eind isn't getting anything done with his blade either. In fact, goes down himself. Machi Esports just turning around this defense, rather the offense for themselves. New Paradigm had a lot of ults to play with, had a very good dive initially, but ultimately just don't quite have the numbers here to be able to defend any further.
Oh, I don't know if I like that last-ditch defense from Frost diving on
cost
the
them members.
Froppy doing it with the Valkyrie too. Look, the cap's inevitable. Just let it happen. Don't give away more ult charge. Don't risk the snowball. It's 2 minutes 45, just under that you have to hold for. Make it as easy for yourself as possible.
The ult charge is just a consolation prize here. The real issue for New Paradigm is they have to take much longer to respawn, far longer for them to get back onto the defense. And with that, Machi Esports are allowed to push up even further, are allowed to get themselves closer to those ults. And for New Paradigm, the setup is just too slow.
Machi coming in on these big ultimates now. Some high impact tools in the tank. Already without that, just the sheer damage they're doing is putting New Paradigm on the back foot. Grab comes out, a bit awkward. I think they were anticipating a dive, but they send the self-destruct forward, which is enough to pick up Eind. And now Machi continuing the inexorable march as they roll the payload around the corner, still picking members off. Dragon Strike comes out, but it's split the team up, hasn't got the kills. Finally gets Leo, and now the tide starts to turn. Even with the res coming in, Stafford and Judo get dropped, and New Paradigm are starting to stabilize in this fight.
Machi kind of just panicked there. They just mis-executed all their big ultimates. Judo throws Graviton into the card itself, catches absolutely nobody. Leo tries to get this Earth Shatter dump, but the Dragon Strike from the opposite side had already come through. Speaking of which, Merit already has a second Dragon Strike ready to go on the defense. And because the Earth Shatter came down during the Dragon Strike, nobody from Machi could go in. Blue himself decides to charge. Guess what? He dies to the tail of the strike.
Quick reset here from Machi. They had the rally. This is a nice call. Eind needs to get a good Riptide here. They throw out the Dragon Strike. It finds Leo once again. Yeah, I mean, you almost wish you had held on to the tire at that point, but they'll go forward, looking to clean up more kills, get some more ultimate charge as well, and they can start snowballing away on this defense.
The thing about that tire is, or rather for the Dragon Strike, is it split Machi Esports so cleanly. Leo and Judo caught in the front line, the rest of the other four members over to the back, and New Paradigm just needed to push onto Leo. They get the Judo as well. Both the main tanks down. Machi are forced to go backwards, and now they're at serious risk of not actually capping through it all because they don't quite have the ultimates. Leo maybe gets the Earth Shatter here, but he needs to connect a much better one than he has been.
Self-destruct ends, already killed Stafford Jin, and Merit found Leo, and I think that's it for Machi. They're not going to get any further progress. They didn't even have the ultimates to begin with. Yeah, Shui staggered 20 seconds. They've got to barrel for that payload. If they get there, they've got the ultimates to win a fight, but they've still got to fight through a lot of New Paradigm's ultimates.
And the problem is, even if you want to grab into this, you want to follow up to the grab or the shatter, as long as Merit survives, as long as Merit has positioning, he can just drag a strike right into the middle of Machi.
There it goes. They are going to counter it with a Transcendence, keeping the members rescued just barely. Eind gets burst in the skies, mid-Valkyrie. There's going to be the Graviton Surge is what that ultimate is called.
That's all the ults.
Payload, yeah, all of them on both sides. It's Machi and New Paradigm, both 3 members down, but the res can come in out of Froppy. Could not come in out of burst. He was dead, if you do recall. And even with that kill going back onto Tito, Machi do not have the members left on this payload. It's just the last hurrah from Leo, valiantly keeping the shield up for that mechless Shui and burst as well as they desperately try and reset. But those closer respawns for New Paradigm and the lack of snowball, the lack of critical mass of kills for Machi means that this is all but inevitable. New Paradigm need only convert the last few kills here and they will complete the holds, will complete the defense, and will complete what will be a win on Eichenwalde.
That's all they need to be able to do. Machi Esports run out of time. That was really weird for them because, again, you have to go back to that big fight where they had the double tank ultimates coming through. They just had to execute, and both tanks unfortunately whiffed in an absolutely awful way, and then they just don't quite have the time remaining. The other thing you're going to consider here is, in terms of the overall attacking time, Machi were much slower than New Paradigm, who New Paradigm basically on one attempt got through A, got through B, then got massively slowed down onto C. For Machi Esports, they really kind of struggled to get past both A and B for the most part, and by the time they got to C, they just had less time to work with overall. They couldn't afford a big mistake, and they made a big mistake.
And that's the thing, like, B wasn't even that bad. They were mostly winning it. It's just it was slow. And because A had gone so, I don't want to say badly, but they did take a lot of attempts to get it over the line, to cap it out the point, that extra time lost on B then just hampered them even further. Kind of a perfect storm. But I think the real thing that actually undid Machi there, if you recall their own B defense, they almost didn't even do anything. They barely actually played on the card. They looked a little bit lost, looked like they weren't sure what they wanted to do. New Paradigm took full advantage, and that's what gave them the extra time on C, that gave them that little bit of extra progress. And as it turned out, that made a lot of difference. Imagine if Machi had had a better B, if they'd been able to hold earlier on A, that would have been a win for them just now.
I mean, it's a lot of things going wrong, but again, at the same time, Machi had the game. They had potentially enough time to actually get that C push underway. They knew the amount of distance they needed to have. They had the momentum. They just needed to be able to push through and execute correctly. But that is unfortunately how the cards are going to fall for them. They can change their fate, however, when we come back from the break. We're going to find out who's going to come out on top. Currently 1-1 in the scores. Is it going to be Machi or will it be New Paradigm instead? Find out after this.